Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. This is the finale of What If Isagi Was a Genius, and if you enjoy, as always, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. Last where we left off, Isagi Yoichi wasn't necessarily being the striker he sought out to be initially, but he's doing something for the greater good of football itself and the greater good of Blue Lock. What is he going to get out of all this? Well, we'll have to find out. So let's get into the finale of What If Isagi Was a Genius. Let's get it. Isagi Yoichi is actually sitting next to Jinpachi Ego now. Yes, it's actually only in a holographic form, but still sitting next to him. He's actually sitting there as he watches the game between, Ryo, Nagi, Zantetsu versus Rin, Tokumitsu, and Aru. He's watching them, and as he watches, he can see certain things that Nagi, Ryo, and Zantetsu begin to try and set up. The speed of Zantetsu is actually a pretty giant threat in this match, and even Isagi knows this to be. And of course, Jinpachi Ego would ask him certain questions of why he does certain things. He would ask him why he would have Nagi doing certain things and setting up certain traps, and he would explain fluently and perfectly. And he would even explain that the most important person here, is Zantetsu to an extent for the play action of it, but it's actually Ryo. He wants Ryo to copy him. He points toward Rin, and he thinks that if Ryo could copy just 99% of what Rin can do, this game will get flipped on its head in a matter of seconds. Isagi watches as it seems like the gap between Rin's talent and also his ability to kind of see the field in a different way begins to shift in the reality that the other team is closing that gap. Rin tries to excel further, but it seems like the game plans that they are having are actually preventing him from doing certain things. And that surprises him entirely. How is this even happening? Who's the mastermind behind this? How are they coming up with such ideas to halt Rin from doing certain things? In which, during this gameplay, Ryo would find a soft spot in the defense, passing it to Nagi, as Nagi would control it, but then pass the ball immediately to Zantetsu, who's cutting off ball, and nobody can keep up with him in short distances. He would score a goal, and this would put the game at a 3-2 deficit for Rin's team. So the team of Ryo, Nagi, and Zantetsu are up, or Isagi's team. Isagi's team is now up, and more game plans begin to flood to the surface. This right here is what Isagi wants. He wants Rin to begin questioning himself. He wants Rin to begin overthinking things, because once he does, all the game plans would begin to fall in place. Isagi would call to himself certain game plans that he wants to see right now, leaving it up to, Ryo and them to choose the game plans, but he informed them well enough that they know exactly when to use them. And that's exactly what happens. Ryo uses some of the game plans Isagi has set up, finding goals not only for himself, but a wide open one for Nagi, and the game would be as if it's in a standstill. Rin is in shock. How? How did this even happen? It felt like he was ahead of all of them, but he still somehow fell behind. That doesn't even make sense. Isagi would watch as Rin is kind of freaking out a little bit, but Rin would eventually learn exactly how all of this thing proceeded because he learns of Isagi. They decide to pick up Rin, believing that he is the best on that other team, and it's not even close. And Isagi would meet with his new team and also teammate Ren Itoshi, and he would explain to him every single thing that Rin did wrong. Rin would stand there in complete awe, but he would ask why he wasn't playing in the game. But Isagi says that he's just not as fast as them, not as strong as them. He's always had love for the game of football, but he'll be honest, he'll be the first person to tell you that he did not play it as much as a child. He did not play it as much even growing up. He tells him that he loves this game, but every single one of his advantages came from his mind, came from the fact that he was absolutely 10 steps ahead of everybody. But he knew as, well, people got better, faster, stronger, and so on, he wouldn't be able to keep up. Because at the end of the day, he was nowhere as fit as everyone else was. He just knew how to stay 10 steps ahead. But if that person was able to run 10 steps ahead, there was no use for him to be on the field. But Isagi points at Rin and tells him that he wants to show him play sets, these plays and also formations that he can use. But with his mind and his ability to see the game the way he sees it, well, he can feed even more off of those play sets, even more off of those plays, those formations. He tells him that this is what will get him over the line, and this is what will make him better than Saitoshi. He's shocked to hear this, but Isagi tells him that he's not stupid. Like he said, he's a genius. He knows, he understands rivalry between siblings. Maybe he despises his brother. Maybe his brother left him to just be stranded in this world of football, left him to become a striker on his own. Isagi says that if that's what he wants to beat Saitoshi, he'll lead him down that way. He'll lead him to his vengeance and his want to stop his brother in his tracks. Isagi says that he doesn't need an explanation of whatever hypothesis was correct. He just needs confirmation that Rin wants to beat his brother. Rin would stand there and smirk just a little bit and says that he's ready to hear him out, and he's ready to see the look on his brother's face when he defeats him. With that said, the 4 versus 4 game would soon come. The team of, or Isagi's team, full of Rin, Nagi, Zentetsu, and Reo, would finally find their next match. And their next match would be against some interesting foes, being that of Bachira, Kunigami, Chigiri, and Aru. Yeah, those 4 teamed up, it seems, and it seems as if they actually are missing someone that was recognizable, but there was no connection to him at that moment. So let's be honest, they don't really care much about him, and they don't really bat an eye to it. Isagi, on the other hand, he may have helped all of these people, but he knows every last one of their weaknesses. Every last bit. If they falter one way, he knows how to expose it. If they falters another, he knows how to expose it that way as well. Isagi can read them like a book. He game plans for them, tells his team the weaknesses, and if they haven't covered up those weaknesses, well, their advantages will be absolutely insane. Isagi watches as his team begins to carve up his former team. Even the speed of Chigiri, to an extent, is limited by Zentetsu, so that X factor wouldn't necessarily be something to be completely and overly overbearing toward this game, which is completely fine. And Isagi continues to more or less signal certain things as his team is already doing it. Isagi, obviously they can't actually see Isagi, but he continues to watch with Jinpachi Ego as his team does certain things, and he makes Rin making his game planning even more insane. Isagi watches as this team that he created continues their onslaught, and eventually Reo would begin copying many things, copying the dribbling of Bachira, the shooting of Kunigami, and he's evolving as they stare at him. And it seems like he's realizing that he can't be the crutch. He can't lean on Nagi anymore. He's evolving and needs to take his own skills to the very next level. They would score goal after goal after goal, and they would win. they would take over the entirety of the game. And they would decide that they will pick up Bachira, the passer, the dribbler, and frankly, a very talented player. They would pick him up and decide to bring him along, as the other three would fall victim once again to the Blue Lock's harsh rules. They fall down one layer and they have to take on whatever's next. Isagi's next challenge, though, is a 5 versus 5. A 5 versus 5 that encapsulates the impossibility of winning. And that is because they go against the World 5. Isagi sets up possible game plans that will work, and even though these game plans were pretty much foolproof, at the end of the day, talent beats all. Isagi watches as his team may score 1, may score 2, but after that, the team gets dismantled. The exact reason why he questions himself as a striker is exactly what's in front of him. His questioning of him being a striker is the same as him watching his team get dismantled by people that are just better than them. Just better. While Isagi watches this, Jinpachi Ego waves him away, saying that this is exactly how it was supposed to happen, and it's even impressive that some of his plays even worked in the first place. He tells Isagi to go watch some of the other matches, and if he wants to actually tune in on a couple of them and help them out, he can do just that. But he doesn't have to. And he says one more thing before Isagi leaves. He tells him that he wants him to actually see something after this is all said and done. Isagi nods his head and walks away as he continues to watch every single match, watching players he hasn't seen quite yet, players that are ferocious. They have insane speeds. Their coordination is insane. A jumping ability is beyond comprehension. But one person catches his eye. One person that when he gets around the goal, he scores over and over and over again. The zesty demon, Shido. He watches as Shido absolutely cuts through every person like butter, but his temper holds him back. Isagi would look and shake his head, thinking to himself that kid, his talent is off the charts. It's out of this world. But still, that anger that is within him, that temper, that chip on his shoulder, will carry him down to the depths of hell if he lets it. He walks away, and eventually some more time would pass, everybody finishing up this stage of Blue Lock, finishing the second selection, and Isagi would watch as many of the people he knew didn't even make it. But Jinpachi Ego, before even speaking to the many others, would speak to him, telling him that those that were eliminated aren't officially eliminated yet. They have the choice of being and going through the wild card. Isagi explains, or Jinpachi Ego explains what the wild card is, but then Isagi explains many ways to make it even better. Explains the advantages of certain things that need to be taught and learned, and Ego immediately smirks, saying that the kid already knew what he was going to ask and did it before he could even be questioned about it. Isagi nods, and Jinpachi Ego says that, well, since that business is done, let's now speak to the rest of Blue Lock. They both speak to the rest of Blue Lock and tell him that it's now do or die for Blue Lock itself. If they don't want to go home, if they don't want to see this crumble and their chances at becoming the next greatest striker crumble at their own feet, they need to take down Japan's U20 team. And then once they do that, Blue Lock will soar to new heights. Blue Lock will unlock everything for them. Will unlock popularity, fame, fortune, and the ability to achieve the very peak of football itself. It seems like everyone in Blue Lock, from player to player, is ready. And they all question the other person speaking to them, but Ego says that this person was one of them. but he is sacrificing his want to be the greatest striker so that all of them have the chance to be that. He stands there watching Ego speak into the microphone, and Jinpachi Ego one last time tells them that they will shine because them as unpolished gems will now be polished, and they will shine brighter than even Japan's finest. But with that said, that is the end of this story. The end of What If Isagi Was a Genius. And I know some people ask if I'll ever go into the manga or the next arc and stuff like that. That will eventually happen, but that is more or less for when the anime comes out. I don't do manga stuff. That's just me personally. But nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.